Hello everyone. This is Talha bin Ahmed. I'm the District Director of District 122 TC, and today I'll share with you some tips and tricks about judging a tall tales contest. Now, tall tales is a tough nut to crack. Do you know why that is? Because there's no parallel to tall tales in all of pathways. International speech, evaluation, table topics, and humorous all have corresponding projects and pathways, but not necessarily tall tales. What makes it further tricky is that it is a 3 to 5 minute speech, which is quite an awkward length for a speech. So, all that means that more often than not, I have seen that some people deliver speeches that are not tall tales. They are excellent speeches, but they are not tall tales. Why that is? Because we have been conditioned and trained to stifle our imaginations. In our work environment, in our education, imagination is not rewarded. And sometimes when we try to tell a story or sing a song or do any act of art, we are ridiculed. And that translates into our speeches as well. So think about it. This is something that inhibits us, inhibits our imagination. Tall Tales asks you to become a child and to ask for the world and shoot for the stars. First of all, speech development. It has 30 marks. Opening, build up, climax, organization, smoothness. Now, smoothness is very important. What does that tell you? Smoothness means that it should be a well connected, well coordinated story. A tall tale cannot be a collection of random events. It has to be one event that starts from somewhere and ends somewhere else. But it has to be a speech, a story. It should be a story because it's right there in the name. If a tall tale is not a story, you're free not to mark it at all. And that is where our judgment comes in. We should ask ourselves whether this was a tall tale. It can be the best speech in the world, but perhaps not a tall tale. And in that case, in my humble opinion, we should not mark it. Or at least we should deduct marks. A non tall tale, no matter how good, does not deserve to win a tall tales contest. A tall tale, no matter how ordinary, deserves to be on the podium. So, opening, build up, climax, organization, smoothness. Usually, tall tales start small and end up somewhere big. And that's the spirit of a tall tale. You open small, you open with a single instance, a phone call, or anything really. And then you build up to a climax. And usually, this is also something very unique about a tall tale. It ends at the climax. There's nothing after the climax. That's the end of tall tales. So look out for all these elements. Whether it was a well connected story, whether it built up to a climax, and whether the transition between the segments was smooth, meaning that whether it was a well connected, well coordinated, well thought out story. Secondly, speech techniques. Now, this is where it really gets interesting because effective use of exaggeration. That is a prerequisite. If there's no exaggeration in the speech, it's not a tall tale, and you should not mark it. Secondly, irony, puns, surprise twists, humor, slapstick. All these are humorous techniques. Did you notice that? That means that the funnier a tall tale is, the higher marks it deserves in this category. A tall tale has to be funny. Without humor, without surprise twist, without pun, without irony, without these sophisticated linguistic techniques, a tall tale should not score too highly on a ballot, even though it may be the best tall tale in the world. Then, physical appearance and body language, of course, the speech should sell the story. The speaker should sell the story. A tall tale may be complete fantasy, but the speaker needs to convey that the speaker lived that story. For example, if I tell a tale about going to another galaxy, everybody knows it's a lie. I haven't gone to another galaxy, it's not possible. But I need to speak as if I went there. That is the difference. That's what adds passion and conviction. And that brings me to appropriateness. Speech, purpose, and audience. First of all, again, it should be a tall tale and it should be relatable by the audience. Good grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Good grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Words and language and grammar are even more important in tall tales than they are in international speech. They have more marks here, more weightage, 15 out of 100 versus 10 out of 100. What does that tell you? It tells you that the story is important, but what you wrap it in is also important, is more important, in fact, than its importance in international speech contest. One more very important part of tall tales is usage of props. Tall tales spark your imagination, so the natural instinct is to display something or to use some sophisticated technique to illustrate your tall tale. Because remember, one has to convey that it was lived rather than written. So, I believe that as a judge, we should reward imagination. We should reward how exaggerated this story is. We should reward how humorous it is. And we should reward how convincingly it was delivered through expressions, through movement, and uh, through puns, through surprise twists, and finally through props. I believe that two equivalent speeches, one of which has a prop and one of which does not, the one with the prop deserves more marks. So those are some of the tips that you should consider while judging a tall tale. Remember, it is your responsibility to send the best tall tale forward, to reward the best tall tale. And that means, first of all, you look for exaggeration, you look for imagination. If a tall tale lacks that, I don't think it's a tall tale. It fails a very basic premise of a tall tales contest. And lastly, lesson, conclusion. Newsflash, tall tales does not need any. The only conclusion tall tale needs is that it needs to be in a different, far more exaggerated place than where it started. And there are no lessons expected in a tall tale. You see the ballad, there is no mention of speech value. Right? There's no mention of speech value. That means that it does not have to have a lesson. I believe, and I say this to speakers, that every second that you spend lecturing in a tall tales is every precious second wasted that you could have added exaggeration and irony, puns, surprise twist, and humor to your speech. So I hope that you have fun while judging a tall tales contest, because it is the most fun contest in Toastmasters. Thank you so much.